right, Happy New Year, everybody. It's, oh, text message from, hold on. Right for visibility. I'm asked them what their favorite color was for this build, sorry. Okay. I'm an idiot. I'm a terrible streamer. Okay, so welcome, Happy New Year. It's a Happy New Year to everybody. That's an international holiday, I can say, truly say, internationally, Happy New Year. Okay, so I'm finally going to start working on this FPV Combat build. And what I have is, I'm building 3 planes exactly the same. And if you don't know what FPV Combat is, it's at fpv-combat.com. I should have put that in the description. And what we're going to do, here's like a little wiring diagram. This doesn't include the flight controller though, and we are going to have a flight controller. But we're going to have basically everything you see here, including this radio right here, the 433 radio that sends information between the airplanes. Okay, let me see if I can get, hold on one second, if I can get this lined up. Can't seem to do it. Hold on, that's not the right one. Sorry, I haven't fixed this. There we go, it's that one. So their website is, it's pretty cool. It's got this really nice video that I hope to, I don't think we're going to have anything close to that, although Andy and Kevin could do this with their jets. They have like jets. But as you can see, it's got an OSD. It has you fire. So basically, we're going to make some pods like like this, and I've gone over this on a previous live stream, so I hope not to spend too much time. We have 2.5 hours today, although I'm a little late, 10 minutes late. But what we are going to do is just go over the parts that I'm going to use. So if I was smart, I could get the, is it 11? And then zoom in on this. There. Zoom out a little bit. I'm very unprepared. Hey, RC FPV Air Combat. Happy New Year's, Robert. Happy New Year's. So, okay, so we're going to do this. We are going to build 3 of these, and I have 3 of everything except Andy has not given me his FPV Combat kit. But here's mine. It's all like kind of laid out in here. Here's the little firing mechanism, I guess you would say. And then this is how it's going to be laid out inside the pod. We're going to have the FPV Combat. You know what? I got buzzers out. Maybe we don't need buzzers. This has a I don't know. Okay, we're going to have the FPV Combat. This is on a little like mount board that fits into the little into the pod. So this is the center pod. The wings are on each side, of course. The little firing mechanism goes in here into that little spot. The FPV camera goes right below it. We're going to put some lights on, and then this is the flight controller. So this will be the tail lights around the motor. This little Adafruit ring here. This is the F411 WSE flight controller, and this is the FPV Combat receiver that receives. This is when you get shot. This is what detects it. So this shows you how to wire all this up. Oh my God, I don't have the right camera on. I'm such an idiot. Switch the camera, thank you. Switch the camera. God, I am a terrible live streamer, so I'm going to do this over again a little bit. So this is how it's laid out inside the pod. Oh, I have an antenna in here. let's get all the gobbledygook out of here. Let's do this right. Let's try to do this right. Get all the pieces out. Okay, so I can show you the front. God, the lighting is terrible. There. Ah, this camera is not good. Hold on, switching camera again. I'm going to go over here. So this is the front of the pod, and this is where the laser or the IR gun per se goes. This is where the camera goes. These are just holes. And maybe put some lights in here, and that's holes for air to go through, except the air is going to run smack into the battery. Okay, so inside the pod will go the flight controller and the FPV Combat unit. And this is how I'm going to lay it out. I hope that works. And this, so we're going to have dual OSD. So how I'm going to wire this, I should have drawn it out when I had it in my head. But the camera, the output, I think I was going to put the output of the flight controller will be the camera input of the FPV Combat. So the camera output, or the VTX output of the flight controller, will be the camera input of the VTX. Thank you. I thank you for the nice pod comment. I fly this wing, by the way. There is actually an example of this wing with a very similar pod. It's had hundreds of flights. I've crashed it. It's really a nice little flying brick. Okay, sorry. So let me go back. I'm wasting time here. I only have 2.5 hours, so I better not mess this up. I at least want to get the firmware on the flight controller, 3 flight controllers set up. So the output of the flight controller, VTX, will be the camera input. Then whatever VTX over OSD FPV Combat board adds to it will go out to the actual FPV VTX. Does that make sense? I hope so. So funny. Okay, sorry, I was reading the comments. Right on. So that's how we're going to do it. That's how we're going to wire this. And then what that means is that the servo outputs, that's an interesting dilemma of what to do. How are we going to manage the servo outputs? I don't know. With the flight controller. I had it all thought out, and I should have drawn it out when I had it all thought out. Okay, well, anyway, we'll go. We're going to wing it as we go. I probably will start off with the servos connected to the flight controller. So the flight controller has control. Because basically we're going to have the VTX hooked up. Again, the output of the flight controller will be the camera. The gun will be hooked up to the high power port. The sensor will be hooked up. The receiver will go to the flight controller. The servos will go to the flight controller. This will have its own set of LEDs. And I'm haven't decided. So the flight controller is going to connect, I think, to the ring that's going to go on the back of the motor. And each plane has a 3D printed motor mount that goes on the back of the pod, and that holds the ring like so. So then there's other lights. Those lights can go in the back here in these holes. And these are these kind of lights, and they're the same WS12, 2812. These are from Banggood, and I have 100 of them or so. And they fit into, take this out, they fit into these little back areas, so like that. So that will probably be these LEDs here that are hooked up to the FPV Combat unit. Okay, we also have for each one, so this first box is my box. So for each plane, we have a set of course, control horns. These are 3D printed control horns. We have a Adafruit ring. We have the FPV Combat unit itself. This one's already been opened. We have the little 3D printed fins. I'll show you a constructed plane, an old version of the same kind of base frame that we're using. We're going to be using the Sunny Sky 2216 2400 kV motors on 3S. We're going to start. Afterburner lights. Yeah, I've seen those afterburner lights, Slappy. I have seen those on a video. Those are cool. Okay, so these are the motors. The ES servos will be the Emax. Should we be using the digital ones? I'm going to change. I bought all these digital ones, but I think I have a bunch of analog ones too. And I think because of the, look, I have a whole shelf full of analog ones too. Oh yeah, see, there's a whole bunch here. So I think I might switch the digital ones out for the analog ones because I think the radios are going to interfere with these digital ones. We're going to have 915. Let me switch cameras. We're going to have 915 megahertz radio control link. Both Kevin and Andy fly. They fly Crossfire, and I fly R9. Yes, R9, and it works. Thank you. So those are both on 915. Then we're going to have each plane is also, like I said, going to have the radio. Where is it? Ah, here. The HC12. See if I can get that in focus. It's in a bag. The HC12. There's 2 of them in this bag because I bought 4 total. So the HC12 433 megahertz radio will be communicating between the planes as per the diagram here. That's what this is for right here. Okay, so let's not get lost. Okay, so that's each plane. Each plane will also have, I guess we can keep on this view. Each plane is also going to have 2 cameras. So the front FPV camera is going to be the RunCam Phoenix 2 Nano, and the rear camera is going to be the Caddx Ant Nano. The motor, the ESC is going to be just the Predator 40 amp. They're pretty beefy. We're going to program each one of these to have motor brake on them before we take it apart. I hope I remember to do that. Okay, so that is the components. I don't know what prop we're going to prop it with yet. I haven't decided, haven't talked that over. So I have 3 of these kind of containers here with all the stuff in it, 1 for each. Here's the other 2. These are Andy's and Kevin's. Kevin's, I've gotten his, maybe I shouldn't put his address on the screen here. Sorry about that, Kevin. All right, so what was I going to say? Each one of these has all the components except Andy's does not have the I gave Andy a flight controller. Andy has a flight controller. He does not have the Crossfire and does not have the FPV Combat, but he has all that stuff at home. So, if you go HG0, don't run a servo wire over the VTX or you get speckles. Okay? Use analog, no interference. Yeah, I agree. Just go from the iNav FC to the PWM output to the combat board. Okay, so what you're saying, FPV Air Combat, is if I just go from iNav, let's say I pick one. Okay, I gotta put my some different glasses on. We'll zoom in here. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta put these glasses on. I can't see. Okay, we'll zoom in here a little bit. All right. So what you're saying is put the wrong ones. What you're saying is put the output of the PWM from the flight controller to the input of the PWM from the receiver. Is that what you're saying? Where are the receiver inputs? Yeah, see? Okay, wait. Trigger, in. Guess I'm going to have to read the documentation a little bit here. Guess I wasn't paying attention. Okay. Let's go from the iNav FC to the PWM. Okay. Output. From the iNav flight controller, right, to the PWM output. Oh, the PWM output of the iNav flight controller to the FPV Combat board. And from there, go to the servo you want to have manipulated. You get one servo. We'll just say, yeah, okay, one servo gets fluttered. I got you. I got you. And they're saying like channel 4 is the trigger. I don't know we're going to do that. We'll have a different channel for that. Doesn't matter. I have a direct channel from the output to the trigger. I'm going to have to wire that from the flight controller pass through or something because S-bus is going to the flight controller. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm getting into the weeds here. But that's how we do this. Okay. So, but basically the first thing I have to do is get iNav 4.0 onto these Matek flight controllers. That is the very first thing that I have to accomplish. So, correct. Okay. One for optional servo. One for the trigger. You have two PWM connections between the combat board and the receiver. Right. Okay. Two PWM connections, and that is this trigger and in. Those are the two PWM connections. And then one, okay, one for the trigger shooting and one for optional servo, which can be manipulated when you get hit. Exactly, right. So that flutters the plane around. Okay, okay. I got you. I got you. All right, we won't be using these LEDs, so that's not going to be being used. We'll put the high power in because we'll be flying in daytime. I have to power this, same from VBAT. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get our laptop ready to go here. That is that. Oops, I switched. I didn't mean to really switch it. My mouse, this mouse that was a throwaway from my son, is a Razer Naga. It's cool, but it's not so cool because it's got a lot of bugs. Okay. So this is, oh, there's the website, right. So, oh, never mind. I'm still on this camera. So what we need is a USB cable. One sec. Here we go. USB cable. And we need iNav 4.0. Oh, I didn't even pre-get iNav 4.0, which was I was supposed to do before starting this live stream. That's okay. We'll get it fairly quickly. Okay, so we'll switch to the computer. There's the FPV Combat website that I was looking at to get the printout. Turned out I already had the printout, so I saved a piece of paper. All right. And what we're going to do, we're going to plug in this flight controller. First, we're going to get iNav. Oh, let's go back to that web browser. Okay. Sorry, I don't have it together. We're going to go to iNav configure a GitHub. We'll just do that. iNav releases. Let's go right to releases. I don't know how I feel about the naming of the iNav releases. I just hope they don't get rid of the numbers. Please don't get rid of the numbers. Install and download the new configurator. This is what we need. Okay, go to the assets, Win64 right here. This is what we need. We're going to do this from scratch, folks. We're doing it from scratch. It's too bad I can't. I should put the Stream Deck over here so I could actually switch things around instead of relying on this crappy mouse on my workbench. And I also have a very curly-cued USB cable. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to do my usual thing where I'm going to, it goes into bin. Okay, go back to downloads. We're going to copy this. Copy, go back forward. We're going to paste it right here and then call it configurator. Rename it. This is what I do because I have to keep, I have all these old versions of configurator on my plane, iNav on my plane, so yeah, I know it's stupid. I gotta update them and I never do. Okay, so here we're going to copy, where were we? Make a shortcut. There, create shortcuts here, and then we'll just call it iNav config 4. Okay, then we're going to run this. Please run. Running. Catch up on the chat. Cams are there now, but the VTX need professional help. VTX need professional help. You mean my choice of VTX? I don't know what that means. My choice of VTX is a junky piece of crap VTX. We're going cheap on here. I spent a lot of money buying all this stuff. Not all of it I bought, but okay. It's going to be COM4. Connect, entering CLI mode. So what we should get is version 2.3.0. So we don't even care. I'm not even going to dump all or anything, okay? I have a million of these flight controllers. I don't need to worry. I just wanted to see which exact target they had used, and there it is. F411 SE. Okay, so let's disconnect and let's go to the firmware flasher And let's choose a board. Matek F411 SE. Now there's a whole bunch of different options, and I always know what they are after I read up on them, and then I forget by the next time I flash it. So right now, sorry about smashing the mic, I'm just going to go to the standard one, the same one that's on there now. If I have to change it, I will. So here we go, 4.0, and this is just from the other day when Powell released it. And full chip erase. We're doing the whole thing. So load firmware online. So there it is. There's that release notes and the stuff from basically the GitHub page. And there's some important stuff in here that I'm going to need to pay attention to further on down the road here. That changed from the world I'm used to. The other thing I have to remember is I'm going to have 4 different setups of iNav, or 3 different setups, because Andy and Kevin both use different, receiver switches and things, preferences and stuff like that. So, okay, so let's flash firmware. Sorry, I'm babbling. Communication with bootloader failed. Ooh. Okay, do I have an issue with my drivers? Let's try it again. No communication. Okay, so there is a boot button if I have to press it, but let's just try it. Let's try the reboot sequence. It's turned on. Full chip erase. Everything is the way I want it. So let's disconnect. And we'll reconnect again. Reconnecting. COM4 is shown up, but it's not, and oh, maybe I'm going to have to press the boot button. Okay, let's press the boot button and then plug it in. DFU. Okay, now we'll be able to flash. I haven't ever pressed the boot button. That's why I'm just not like pressing the boot button. Sorry, this couldn't be more boring, right? I know. But this is the process of getting this going. The first thing you need to do is get the firmware on the flight controller. Make sure that flight controller works. Maybe configure the OSD. We're going to configure a minimal OSD on here. Okay, programming successful. So we're back to COM4. We can just try to connect to it. Now, what are we going to do? We're faced with this, and we are going to fly an airplane without a tail. Keep current settings. iNav configurator would. I guess I should just do this. I'm probably doing something wrong already. Okay, and this, there are now a couple different, oh, it's going to reboot again. There are now a couple different IMU units on the F411. So mine, one I'm using is old, but the newer ones, the one I'm giving to Andy and the one that Kevin bought, have the DPS 310. Is that what it is? And the other one, the older ones have the MPU 2280 or something, BMP 2080. Okay, so the next thing we're going to have to do is calibrate the accelerometer. So we're going to do that right now. And so basically, this is fairly simple. Let's see. Here. I don't know how to do this. We'll switch. So basically, how you do that real quickly is you just press this button and you do each one of these and press this button for each side. It doesn't matter. You don't have to do it in the order that it says here. You just get all six of these. So what we're going to do is calibrate accelerometer. gives you the thing, and then you say OK. So what we'll do is we'll switch the camera to this view, and then I'll do each one. So we'll go there, and we'll just hold it right where it is now, assuming it's level. Let's hold it down. Okay, now we're going to do this side, and we'll hold it down. And we're going to do this side. Now having it mounted in this thing is kind of a pain in the butt. So I'm going to do the other ones without doing this first. But this one's mine, so might as well learn the hard way. Which one? Okay, now we're going to do this one. And we've got the pins to rest it on. That should work. So for each one, just to see, you can see that we're progressing here along. We've got almost all of them done. We don't have upside down. So what are we going to do for upside down? Let's use a motor box. And we'll put the motor box like that. And we will hold it. And we have another one. So then the only other one, I think, is this way. Which way have I done? Not done. I think it's this way. Yep, calibration finished. So this is what you get when you're done. There you go. It's finished. Yay. Okay, save and reboot. And the owners of these future planes are texting me, so let's see what they're saying. ESP32. Whoops, wrong window. Somebody sent a text in the wrong message. ESP32. That's a good microcontroller. Fun for projects. Okay, so you can see here that the flight controller is reacting to my movements. So we're in business. So the next thing to do is to go to the mixer and make sure that we have the mixer right. And we're going to, why do we not have motor? Load and apply, flying wing, load and apply, save and reboot. That's the next thing you have to do. So first, install the firmware. Second, calibrate the accelerometer. Third, load and apply the mixer that you need. And now you can see that we have our picture of a flying wing. Oh, that's a new, I guess they had that in a previous configurator. Okay, so we'll check the mixer again, and you can see that we have our servos and our motors. We only have one motor. We can delete the second one. And we'll save and reboot one more time. Well, actually, several more times. What time is it? 3:11. Is it only 3:11? 3:11. Okay, we're rolling along here. Said I was wasting a lot of time. Okay, now we're going to have a total iNav setup. I think I skipped over some things of our electronic components, namely the GPS. And the GPS, I have a zillion of these GPS units, and each one of the other two airplanes has the GPS. It's going to be one of these Bentian Mini. These are super reliable, tiny, easy to install. That guy. 220, yeah. So I try to get these from Ready Made RC. If you get them from Ready Made RC, they have the plugs already to go into the flight controller. And I don't have to make a wiring harness, which makes me happy. One less wiring harness to make for all three planes. So GPS. So for this, what we're going to do is refer to the flight controller manual, which is on the internet, of course. And, oh, basic commands, ESP32. Look at that. What happened to my other window, I wonder? Interesting. The window that we had with the, oh, that was in Chrome. That's funny that I had ESP32 and he said something about in the wrong window of ESP32 in a text. Okay, here we are. We are going to go to the Matek website. Just search for that. That'll take us right there. Well, I should say it used to take us right there. Let's go here. Oh, let's switch screens again. 2212 at the time. Thank you. Made a multicolored block to do. Oh, that is very smart, Robert. Very smart. Set up one and de-load target to desktop and de-load the other two from the desktop. Are you saying after I calibrate? Because wouldn't the calibrations be different even if the flight controllers are the same flight controller? Just out of the fact that different units are different off the production line. Yes, I agree with doing the other stuff once I get it set up, but maybe not the calibration. I don't know. I just don't know enough about these things, Robert. Okay. BMP 280, that's the original barometer. Now it also comes with a different barometer, more accurate, not an IMU, a different barometer. And that barometer is what I said before, the DPS 310. That is the different barometer. Okay. What we need to do here is look at the wiring page, wiring and setting. And what we see down here is our UART setup. So we're going to go back to iNav. And should I have this memorized? I should. I've done enough of these. But so for UART 1, we're going to turn off MCP. And we are going to turn on GPS. And then we are going to serial RX on UART2 and smart audio on soft serial 1 and smart port on soft serial 2. Excellent. This is exactly what I want. Now this will not be the same for the other two because they will have not smart port. They're going to have their serial RX on UART2 still, I believe. But the serial RX provider will not be S-Bus. It'll be Crossfire protocol. Everything will be different as far as the receiver part on the other two. Okay, so we're saving and rebooting that. Sorry, I'm wasting and blabbering on. Okay, so the flight controller works. We'll probably even get to some soldering so we can start wiring one of these up. That's the main goal of this, of course. They all have to be wired up. So we have the outputs, we have the ports. Now let's go on to configuration. And in configuration, we are going to check out all the settings. Now again, you will see that the other ones are going to get this DPS 310 down the list, but not this one. What do we need to check here? So far everything looks good. There's no magnetometer. Current scale 423. 423. Current scale, yes. Okay. Mag alignment. They don't have that set up here. Okay, we won't worry about all that stuff. GPS, yes, we turn on the GPS. And ground assistance, we are not. I don't know if I should turn on this Galileo satellites. I'm not in Europe. Does that matter? I don't know. Gosh, I should know. Automatic daylight savings time. Time set on time zone. Oh, what's mine? UTC -5. Can't remember. I'll do that later. Craft name. Okay, so this is why we're gonna. I wanted them to tell me what their favorite colors were. Each one of us is gonna have a color. Okay. Happy New Year. Anything bright for visibility? So I think we need. Now this is like the for Andy and Kevin. I have to tell them that's like the accent color. It's gonna be white. It's the main color. Never mind. Okay, I'll be black. Okay, black. I'm always on, we'll do race band. I'm going to do race band 3 and power level 4. Use low power, no. Okay, now we get to some of the settings over here. We're going to do that, turn that on. We don't have black box. We're going to enable motor and servo output. We do not have reversible motors. We're going to have soft serial. We're going to stop motors on low idle. CPU-based SPI. We don't need to turn that on. Permanently enable air mode, yes. Permanently enable launch mode, yes. Excuse me. Profile selection, yes. I don't do the battery continuously trim servos. Now, Mr. D said something about that. Darren Lines said something about that, and I think you're supposed to turn that on, but I'm going to wait till I know. Continuously adjust the servo midpoint so that the airplane keeps flying straight when switching to manual mode. Requires GPS. Yeah, that should probably be turned on. We'll do it later, though, after I make sure I read up about it. Make sure I understand all the consequences. Right on. Sorry, we're going to get to, we're almost done. We're almost done with this. We're doing good. We're not going to set up the LEDs. I'll figure that out off camera and have that documented. Should have done that already. Okay, that's already done. It's already been rebooted, connected. So we're going to do PID tuning, and let's just not even mess with that because I think we're going to try to do the actual auto tune and rates and all this. The rates need to go way up on this plane. We're going to decide what to do with those PID tuning together so all our planes act the same. So we're going to skip all the tuning for now. I'm just looking at the tabs to see what's kind of new in iNav 4, which is a lot. There goes the dryer. So, okay. I didn't get the advanced tuning tab, did I? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe I've lost it. Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is the important stuff is in here. Lots of important stuff. We need to decide on some of these things, and oops, because we could use this plane not just for FPV Combat. It'll be a full iNav plane too. Okay, but we're just going to leave all this alone for now. Receiver. Let's see. Mine is old school, which means TAER. And I'm going to do serial provider as S-bus. Serial port inverted. No, because its protocol default is inverted. So this is like not inverted if I were to turn it on. Serial half duplex auto. I'm going to leave all the dead bands where they are for now. Save and reboot. We will not get a receiver, of course, yet because I have not soldered any connectors onto the flight controller. We'll do that soon because we have time. We have time. I said I'm going to be on here for 2.5 hours. 2.5 hours. Okay, so we've the modes. Now I'm going to mostly put my modes on, but I'm not going to do that yet. And of course my sheet of modes, oh, I think it's right over there. I have my modes documented, so I have them saved too. I should just bring them in from a text file. That's what I'll do. Okay, adjustments, we're not going to do adjustments. GPS, we're not going to do GPS yet. Mission control, nothing. OSD. All I want to do is turn on voltage and amperage and maybe a little arrow for direction home. We will wait for the OSD information. So what we're going to do for default layout is, I don't know if they're going to, mine is on NTSC, which I know is probably not the best. I think everybody says PAL is better, but I'm stuck with NTSC. We don't need, okay, system messages, yes. Where is that? Where are you? Okay, let's put you way down at the bottom, right there. And let's move the fly minutes up. Okay, so what else do we have? We have, we don't need altitude, I don't think. I can't remember. Is altitude on the right? Altitude's on the right. Really? Instructional video. Thank you. Okay. I don't know. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. All right. System messages, fly mode. We don't, do we need the fly mode? We'll put it on there for now. I'll let each person decide what they want on their OSD, of course. I'm not going to put any of the stuff I usually put, so I'm not even going to copy the stuff over. Voltage. Where's the voltage? I want amperage, altitude, and voltage. Milliamp hours used up. I don't want that. So altitude, yes. On time, fly time, yes. Current draw here. Turn that off. Voltage. I'm missing. I'm sure that's near the top. We're not going to turn on anything else. We don't need anything else. Let's look at the top for voltage. Battery voltage. I want cell voltage. That's what I like to use. Cell, average cell voltage. So much easier to, doesn't matter how many cells you have. That is the number that you need to pay attention to. Now, what are these other things? Home position on arming screen, yes. What's in the way here? Let's move these off the thing. Oh, satellites and that. Okay. So we'll move the system messages back like so. Scooch it over. Oh, scooch it one more over that way. There we go. Do we need the number of satellites? We do not need the number of satellites for an FPV combat plane. Let's turn that off. Do we need the fly minutes? Probably. At least one of us does. We'll put that down here in the corner. So there's our minimal OSD setup. And if we have to move any of these because of where FPV Combat puts their OSD, we will. So we're going to save that. I think we also have to do the fault manager, but we can't do the fault manager until we have power to the OSD chip, which does not happen over USB. But you do, let me look at the camera here. Straight at, oh, not the camera that I wanted. How about this camera? Okay. From what I understand with iNav 4, you need to upload the font over again, no matter what, if you're going from any previous version. So don't forget to do that. Upload the font, which you would do with the font manager button here on the OSD screen. But we can't do it because the OSD has to be powered And that means your flight controller has to be powered with the battery, because the OSD is never powered, the OSD chip is never powered from the USB from on our little tiny flight controllers. Okay, so that's our OSD, and we are done. I'm not going to do the LED setup now. I'll do that later. Afterburner maybe would be a good idea. Who knows? Sensors. It's working. I'm moving it around, and oh, I don't have the right camera on. There. Sensors, moving it around. There. Okay. Everything seems to be firing on all cylinders, as they would say. We don't have tethered logging. We're not doing black box and CLI. So we'll go to the CLI, and we're going to do a dump all. And then I'm going to take this dump all and save to a file. And we're going to go to backup. I don't know why I have these in OpenTX directory. That's really stupid, but that's the way I've been kind of doing things. Okay, so we're going to do the FPV Combat Arrow ACS. That's for me. There'll be one for each person. Open there, and we'll save that as the dump all. DUM up. DUMPALL. Okay, folks, this is it. We're going to move on to the soldering of the flight controller. Is that stupidly boring? I don't know. But basically, we have to get this camera view going here. We have to, still connected, solder all the pins on here so that we can connect to the various devices that we need to connect to. And yes, I do use pins and not direct solder on this type of build that I'm doing here. It makes life a lot easier when you need to change components. You just got to make sure that things don't fall apart. We use LED ring for iNav or for the FPV Combat system. That's a good question, and I'd like your input. What I was thinking, what I said at the beginning was that I was going to use the ring on iNav, and that I was going to put these little tiny lights, these little things, which are also the same type of lights as in the ring, in the back spaces of the plane, in these little ports back here. I don't know. It's up in the air. I'd welcome your input on that one. But that's what I said I would do at the beginning of this stream. So, okay. Oops. Let's see. Camera 4. There we go. What we're going to do now is set up for soldering, which means I'm going to fire up the soldering iron. I'm going to disconnect from the, here, we'll switch back. Disconnect from the computer. And I think we've done everything we need to do there. So we'll just disconnect this. We need to disconnect this from the board, so we'll do that. We'll switch to this camera here. And I wish I had better lighting. I'm going to try, maybe it's just not as bad as it looks to me, but it's pretty bad. I'm going to point this down and move it forward a little and see maybe if I get it. I'm going to have to move it back, but there. Does it show up any better? I don't know. So what we have to do is get this disassembled, and I'm just using plastic. Oh, see how bad those glasses are? I couldn't even see what that is. One of these two. This one. Got a little This is an M whatever size, micro size that is you need to. This does not come with the flight controller, this little screw here. Basically what I did was take the screws that came with the flight controller off the bottom piece. Oops. I'm not even doing this on camera, idiot. These little screws here, what you can see here maybe, is that there's the little screws that came with the flight controller. I took 2 of them out, and I'm using 2 other M2, I think they're M2 screws to go through the holes in this little guy here. So they're little button head M2 screws. So you need to provide those on your own. The FPV Combat board has M3 holes, and I'm using M3 plastic nuts and bolts to put it on this little 3D printed mount thing. Okay, so here we go. Next we're going to put some water in our sponge, get some pins out of the box, and solder up the flight controller. And if we have any luck, we can maybe power it on. I just won't connect the ESCs yet because I'm making a mess over here. I'm making a mess over here is what I'm doing. I'm trying to straighten up my soldering iron situation and making a huge mess. Okay, sponge is sponged, and now I'm out of paper towel. I recently did a little tidy up on, I added a little workbench storage area over here. So things are looking up in the Dank RC workshop. Getting organized. Signed another lease, so we're here. I'm here until 2023 at least. Thank goodness I don't want to move. Assuming that I keep my job and all those things. Okay. I'm going to be sitting down. Oh, we need our little thing. Sorry. Okay. 2 screws. Let's not lose those. All right, we will be getting ready here. We have this, we have pins. Where are the pins? Where are the pins? I just had them out. Okay. Here, look at this. We have, let's see where the camera's going to point. Like that, switch like there. We got our flight controller. Have our bag of goodies. No bag of goodies. Oh yes. There's our bag of goodies. So what's in here is the pins. They only give you these pins. The ones that go here. So what we're going to do next is take this apart and start the soldering process. So I'm going to do all the parts of this build on a live stream, and I can't say that I'm going to have any schedule. I'm going to do it in the evenings probably because it's back to work as normal after tomorrow. Had the last week off, but I've had to do a lot of projects around the house that I wanted to do when I had this time off. So I didn't have time to actually stream or anything like that. So this is the first thing we'll be soldering, as these pins right here, and they're not going on very easily at all, which is unusual for the Matek board. Usually I don't have a problem. I just stick them on and they go right on. Look at, I've got grooves in my fingers from pushing so hard. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the table as our friend, as Josh Bixler would say. And there, the pins have been inserted onto the board. Now let's solder them. Let's put all these, save 2 screws out, and put all these pin screws. This is how many extra screws they give you, which is plenty. I don't know why they give you all those, but I'll take them, I guess. Let's get them all out of the way. I'll fuss with them later. Okay, soldering time. So what we do is just stick this on here. I don't even have to mask it off because I'm going to solder it from underneath. We have our solder, which is 40, 60, 30, 60, 40, 67, 63. Which one is it? It's 60, 40. Fan is not on. We should turn the fan on. It's not that loud. Look at the chat for a second. Standard non. Okay. Actually, the first 10 RGB LEDs would be used for 5 LEDs for life, energy. Oh yeah, proportional. 5 for ammo. Oh, proportional. 5 for ammo, proportional. I got you. They go up or down depending on lit up or not, depending on how much you have. Or you could just use the standard non-RGB lights next to the output. And I do have lots of other RGB lights, or non-RGB LEDs. I have lots of those too. If connected to RGB LED port, all LEDs will flash when you get hit. Yeah, okay. That's kind of... If a 433 module is used, which is what we're going to do, they will flash white on a successful hit of the opponent. Interesting. Where? Alberta. Yeah, Robert's from Alberta. He is in the cold. Robert, it's 5 degrees Fahrenheit, so below 0 Celsius here, and it is cold. So I don't know if it's that cold up there or not, but it probably is. Okay, here we go. Caught up on the chat. Nothing's on camera. Typical me. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing while I'm reading the chat. Sorry. I'm not a professional YouTuber, you guys. I'm just building a plane here on a live stream. So, okay, glasses on. I'm going to switch to my other glasses. This, when I'm soldering pins, I like to have my super high mag glasses. I'll try not to get my fat head in the way, but it probably will be. And we'll get a couple pins in each corner. That one looks shitty. Let it heat up a little bit longer. And I hate when it gets that little blobbly look on there. Get rid of that. Okay, here we go. Solder the pins on. Yeah, it's getting, when it starts doing that, you need to get, I should have fluxed. I have a flux pen. Hold on. Let's put a little bit of flux on here. We'll clean it up later. Let's put a little bit of flux there. Get a little flux on those too. Are we fluxing? Hold on. There we go. There's a little bit of flux. Okay. Now I'll spread that around. I don't like to use too much of this stuff because you gotta scrub it off. Okay. You don't want to leave it on, by the way. If you're soldering. And when you don't have enough flux, that's when those little things start popping out of your solder joint, like this one is. And I want to clean that up. I don't like that. That makes me mad. Okay, and I have too much junk on the table while I'm soldering, which is also stupid. Oh, you can hear the fluxing. Okay, let's turn this around. Am I still actually in the shot? There we go. My big fat head's in the way, I'm sure, but I'm sorry. I gotta be able to see. That's the most important part of... Oh, hold on. I'm not getting the board heated up. That must be a ground. The grounds suck up a lot of heat. And so be prepared for that when you're doing your pins. The FPV Combat boards come pre-soldered. So you won't be doing this with them. Okay, see all these little tiny specks? Those gotta go. This is just, I don't know why today the pins aren't soldering like they used, like they have in the last few times I've been doing my pins. Okay. And there's a little bit too much water on my sponge too. Okay. That looks good. There we go. Now we're going to decide how to pin the rest of the board. I should have zoomed in a little bit. That would have maybe prevented my head from getting in the way. I don't know. What about the flux compensator? Already installed? Yes, the flux capacitor. Got that already in. Definitely installed. Okay, so we're going to just put a little alcohol on this so I do not forget. Q-tip, alcohol. Oops, a little spillage. Okay. Not the best. I need a little brush. I have a little toothbrush over there, I think, somewhere too. Yeah, here we go. Best to use a little toothbrush. Clean that off. Seriously, it will make your board rust. Okay, so the bottom is finished except for, of course, actually connecting the power wire, which we're going to have to do shortly. So move that off to the side and get this board. Now this board is going to need, how are we going to do this? So this is going to, let's look at how we're going to put this in the plane. This is where we have to start doing some planning. Get all the parts out. Okay. So the board normally faces this way. Like so. We're not going to stick it back together all the way, but we'll stick it back together a little bit. Okay, widen the shot, dude. Widen the shot. The board sticks together like this. So how are we going to have these pins? we are going to have them definitely not sitting facing backwards because we got to fit the ESC in here. So we're going to go straight up. We're going to use straight up pins on the top flight controller. Okay, got that figured out easy enough. Straight up pins. So that means we're going to get some straight up pins in the pin drawer. And we need 3s. Oh no, do I even have any? This is what I faced last time, was all my pins were angled. Ah, here's, no, angled. There's a 2-row. So I need a 2-row and a 1-row. 2-row and a 1-row because I don't have any 3 rows. There's no 3 rolls. None. No straight 3 rolls. 3 rows. Roll. Okay, that's what I got. I got what I got. Soldering 900 paste, just a little clean solder blobs. Works like a charm for cleaning. Yes, and I have a big, that's how I used to, that's what when I had my tips, I let them get a little bad when I wasn't working on this stuff for a little while. And then I fixed them with exactly that. I dipped them into my big jar of soldering paste. Okay, so now we're going to, we'll use the 1 row on this bottom one. So we're going to cut it right there. And we don't need to cut it. I can just break it with my fingers. So that one's going to go right there. Then we're going to only need 2 on this one. And we're going to go to right there. Let's see if I can break it. Ah, yes. That's much easier than cutting it. Okay, so those are those 2. Now I need another row of 2 to go right here, and that goes to there. Come on. Ah. Not as easy this time. Let's try it with the other hand. Right there. I want to get the right amount if I'm going through all this effort. Okay, here we go. Ah, got it. Okay, so we have all our pins. And again, this one isn't going in so easy. So what we're going to do is push. Oh my. It's being very difficult. But we have it on. So there is the board with all the pins on. And now we will solder them without hopefully dislodging them. So let's set them onto our little piece of blobber goop, blue tack. And orient it the appropriate way. Oh, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to have to take these. No, I should leave them on. No, I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to take this little thing off. Doesn't take that long. It's not that hard. Put those over here. Take this one off. Little tiny brass standoffs and the little tiny M2 screws. Okay. Now let's try to do this. Okay, I want to make sure that I'm pushing on those pins right there, which I'm not doing entirely. So we're just going to stick it down. Am I actually doing it? I don't know. Am I pushing down hard enough? Okay. Now what I do, whoops, don't knock all those things over. That'll make a huge ass mess. Now what I'm going to do is put a little bit of masking tape on the part that I will not be soldering. And trust me, if you want to save yourself, these boards now cost like closer to $45 or whatever. And you don't want an runaway blob of solder to get you. Cover the damn thing with tape or something. $1 worth of tape or $40 worth of flight controller. I'll take the $40 worth of flight controller savings and just do the tape. Okay, we have our little fan. See, we've got a little fan right there. Have our flight controller covered up. I have our terribly scrambled soldering iron wire. Okay. All the pins. Sometimes I just do the pins that you need. No, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing all the pins. And I just failed to put some flux on. 1 and 2. Wear the right glasses. Put a little flux on. Okay. I'm sorry for getting my big head in the way in advance, but I have to be able to see. That is the most important thing. There's a nice shiny one. Oh, there's a bridge. Shit. See that? You don't want that. Don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. Let's get the other end here. Okay, 1 row down, 4 rows to go. Sometimes what I do is turn this whole thing around just to get at those pins, but we're going to try it this way. Get in there like that. This is the job that scares so many people away from this hobby. But it really isn't that bad. The way I like to say it is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Okay, I got shaky. Oh, there's a bridge. Don't want that. Don't do that. Let's get rid of it. Oh, there's another bridge. From one bridge to another. Oh, okay. Let's get that out of there. Come on. Solder blob. Oh my gosh. My sponge is a little too wet. Here, use the scrubby. Okay. Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. Okay, I think it looks all right. Oh, messed that one up. Just trying to clean these up a little. There we go. There we go. Okay, those are done. Change these glasses. Woo! Gotta put my head right up there to see those. Okay. Yeah, where is my big jar of soldering paste? It's here somewhere. Okay, now we're going to go this way. And we will center the camera a little bit. I was going to buy a new camera, but then I decided I better be buying Christmas presents for people and stuff. Giving money to charity and things for the season instead of buying another camera. So maybe in February I'll replace this here. Standard. This is a standard definition camera from, it was a present from my mom from way long time ago. I've always loved cameras and just messing with cameras, videotaping things. FPV just plays into so many things that I'm into. Computers, technology, radio, frequency. All the things. And this FPV Combat too, it combines, you know, like video game fun. And then all the other things that you're already doing. Okay, so I've tacked in the two separate pieces, and now I can just go ahead and solder them all up. And that will be not the end of the soldering for this flight controller, I hate to say, but we will be moving on to the power connection. I didn't flux these, but that's okay. I'll heat that one for a little longer. As long as you see the solder grab onto the pad and like form like a cone, not like a ball over the pad, but like grab onto it and form a cone, then you've got like a good joint. If you've got like a ball, a bulbous ball over the pad, then it's probably not any good. The middle pins are the hardest to get. You can always unbridge them when you're done later. Just make sure you get it heated up enough so that the pad is heated, because otherwise the solder will not stick to the pad. And I'm trying to touch the solder to the pin and watch it go down the pin onto the pad. I'm not touching the solder to the soldering iron. I've got solder on the soldering iron, and then there we go. Look at that. Burnt some of the masking tape there, but that's okay. So those worked out really good. I always get better towards the end. Let me take a look at it. So then we'll clean it up a little bit with a little alcohol. Make sure it's all nice and clean. Then this stuff will sometimes stick to it. Let it cool off a little. The more you let it cool off, the easier it comes off, the blue tack. If you try to take it off when it's really heated up, then it just sticks and gets all gooey and sticks all over the pins. So there's some a little bit on that pin right there. I still pulled it off too quick. I should have waited another minute. But like everything, a little alcohol on a toothbrush will clean it right up. Not like everything, but like some things. Okay, so there is our fully soldered top board for the flight controller. So the next thing I'm going to do is think for a minute. We're going to put I'm going to put the little standoffs back on. That's what we need to do. Put the standoffs back on. They're a little fiddly, so plan it out and get a little screwdriver. I'm going to have to take a little short bathroom break in a minute, I think, because I drank too much coffee today. I hope everybody had a good New Year's, wherever you are. I did. It was okay. Mellow, casual, COVID-free. Okay, so they're stuck back together. I don't really want to stick it back together totally. As I say, sticking it back together. Because what I want to do is plan out a little bit now on how we're going to do the power wire. So the battery is going to be in the front, of course. And so our power lead, I think, should come out. Where is the power lead? It's going to be right there. ESCs. Oh, wait, I have this backwards. It's backwards. Okay, yay, the battery lead's in the front corner. That's where I thought it was. It's going to come out over here. So what we're going to do next is do the power lead, and for the power lead we're going to use the power lead, which I don't have in the box of things. I'm just going to get it out of my stock. I'm using one of these very fine Panasonic low ESR 1000 microfarad or 1 farad 35 volt capacitor. We'll put that here and in line with the power. So what we need for the power, and what we're going to need is, I hope I have XT60s. So box of connectors. Let's see. I'll use a yellow, crappy yellow one for mine, and I'll give them the nice black ones. Black one. Uh-oh. I'm out. I have no more. I have to use a yellow one. Oh, there's a black one. Okay, connectors for Andy and Kevin. I already have the 1000 microfarad low ESR high quality Panasonic capacitor in each of their boxes. Now we need some cabling. And we're going to use, what should I use? Camera. If I had 2 friends watching, maybe I'd take that as a hint for what Arthur is doing for you. Hint, hint. Oh no, I'm not really doing anything. We're all in this together. But thank you. Yes, they're very nice. They're my flying friends. They're good friends, and they're great to fly with. Okay, so we have 16 gauge, and what is this? I think I should use 14 gauge. What do you think? What do I use in my plane? Okay, so this is a plane that's already been built, crashed, smashed, similar to the FPV Combat build that we're building here. And I have measly 16 gauge and it works just fine. So should we use 16 gauge? We'll use 16 gauge. That'll be easier, lighter, more flexible. So 16 gauge it is. We'll put the 14 gauge away. What is this? That's 14. We have 16 and 16. Yeah, that'll be enough for both planes. Robert, they probably have, my two friends probably have lots to say to me because they've been waiting for these planes for, I've had all this stuff, most of it for months. We've been planning this since most of the year. Okay, but I just haven't had time. And then I get on these side projects like building a rocket telemetry system, which I still didn't finish using. Okay, so basically we don't need very long because the battery's going right here. So we're just going to go like about that long. That is how long? That is 70 millimeters. That's probably even too long. But we'll go with 70 millimeters. 70 millimeters. That's how long we're using for the power connection. Set that aside. And we're going to construct the, I guess we should solder the wire onto the flight controller first. So we're pulling this apart again. Why I stuck it together, I don't know. And we're going to solder the ESC connection, and we'll tin up the ESC and the battery connection, but we will not be connecting the ESC quite yet because of I want to program the ESC. That'll be the next step after we connect all this together. That's what I want to try to get done before, oh, I got 50 minutes left till 5 p.m. Okay, I can go up to 10 minutes over since I started 10 minutes late. And okay, my big fat head is in the way. I'm so sorry. Every time I see that, I'm like, oh dear. I might have to change soldering tips here. We'll see. Let's see what we can do. I may not have enough heat for this. Oh, yeah, we do. I want to get a big, nice blob on there. Okay. And a nice blob on here, too. Okay, those are two nice blobs. It would be great if I'd love to come up to northern Alberta sometime in my life on a bucket list, because that seems like something my girlfriend might want to do too, because she doesn't like it where it's warm. She likes it where it's cold. Pick a time of year when it's like in the 40s or 50s. Probably mid to late spring. I don't know what the weather's like there, but okay, we're going to strip our 16 gauge wire with the 14 gauge setting. And we're going to take off about 5 millimeters or 4 millimeters there off the end with the 14 gauge setting. And we have to tin these up. And these connections are very important because every time you pull on the battery, you're probably putting some tension on this. And should I be using a bigger soldering tip for this job? Yes, I'm going to change my soldering tip. Where are we? Are we on? Yeah, we're on. Okay, we're not zoomed in, but that's okay. Let's see if we can tin this. There we go. I want to get the solder to melt on the wire, not on. We put some solder on the tip, and then you wait till it heats it up so that the wire melts the solder. And you know you've got it. Okay, now we are ready for action. So we're going to turn this a little bit this way. I'll zoom in for this one. See if we can get a nice, decent soldering joint on this guy here. Move everything out of the way. Workspace is getting cluttered. All right. Zoom in. Zoom in. There. That's what we're going to do. Negative, positive. Let's see, we got a kind of a blob on the end of that. Not really. Sort of you can see. So we'll do that first. And we're going to get a bunch of solder on our tip. We have not, okay, this is a bad situation here because I've got a bunch of junk in where it shouldn't be. It's going to get knocked over. Okay, so sorry everybody. I am disorganized. Okay, this is why I don't make an instructional video. What I should do is cut out, edit this, and get all the crap out of it once I'm done. That's what I've planned on doing with many videos. Have I done it? No, not a single one. It's so time consuming. Okay, I'm dropping stuff on the floor. I'm knocking stuff off of this piece of wood that I was using for another project. Okay, here we go. Finally, bunch, ouch. Negative to negative. It's not perfect, but it's good. Good enough. Okay, that's how I want it coming out. That corner this way, and then this one this way. I like it when it's a nice big shiny ball. That one has a little bit of a blip on top, which means that I fried away all the flux before I finished. This one I'm going to add some more, so I'm going to put a big more blob of tip on my solder and try to add some more there. Okay, I think that's good. So there's our battery connection. It's not the best. It's not the worst. So now we can put the, you know what I did? I knocked off those things, didn't I? Oh no, they're on the other board. Make sure that I have the standoff. Yep, okay. Okay, so now the next part is we're going to do the XT60 part. So we need this. Goes on this way with the square end. So what we do with the XT60 is we turn these, let's see, it's going to go on like this. So we'll turn this way. We turn the cups so that they're up. The cups on these things, the end of these things need to be turned up so they're the same direction. I don't know why they make them like this, but they do. So you just turn it in place. Like that. Like so. So now you have the cups facing up so that when you stick your wire in like so, it's easier. Next thing we need is some heat shrink. Don't forget the heat shrink. And I'm not sure if I have the right size anymore. That's the right size, the size that goes in there. Now what you want to do is make sure that it actually will still go in there with your blob of solder on there. And if it does, you've done a good job. Now let's look at the next size up. That size doesn't fit in there, so I try to avoid using that size. So we're going to put the pieces of heat shrink on the wires. Let's tin them up first, actually. So, time to move stuff out of the way again. We're going to use the 14 gauge setting and strip off about 4 to 5 millimeters. And we will tin these up again. Am I on camera? Sort of. Oh, zooming in far. Ah, sorry, I messed it all up. Sort of. There, that's easier to move. So heat up the wire. And wait till the solder starts going in to the wire. There it goes. That is a good tinning. Get some solder on the tip so it has a really good connection with the wire. And the wire melts the solder. Oh, we lost a big blob, so let's add some more. We kind of wanted just a big blob kind of hanging off there, because the problem is that humans don't have 3 arms. It's pretty much an asset most of the time, like when you're seeking out a partner, that you don't have 3 arms. But then when you're trying to solder up your flight controller. Now another thing you should always do, and I'm not doing it here and I need to do it, is to take a XT60 opposite. Let me find one. And put it into the XT60, because what you don't want is your little nylon things moving around, and when they get all melty and hot and they start melting the nylon. So now we can tin this one up. Oh, and also don't touch those, because these ends will get hot too, of course. So let's tin up the little parts of this, and kind of like soldering the wire, when you're when you're soldering up this, you would heat up the piece of metal with the soldering iron and wait until it melts the solder. There we go. Now the brass in there is hot enough to melt the solder. So now you can just fill that well up with solder. And then you do the same thing over here. Get a bunch of solder on your tip and wait until that thing heats up. And there it goes. And the more solder you dump into it, the easier it is to heat it up. There you go. Okay, so we've got 2 wells full of solder. Now we're going to turn this around. Don't touch those other ends. They're going to be hot. And the negative is on this side. This is how we planned it. So what we're going to do now is put on our heat shrink. all the way down. Heat shrinks on. And then we will do the positive, I guess, first. Okay, so what we're going to do, this is where 16 gauge comes in handy, because the heat shrink will actually slide over this nicely if we get, so we're trying to get that in, setting in there. Actually, we should have probably stripped off a little bit more insulation, but we'll be all right. Okay, so I'm sorry for getting my head or my arm or everything else in the way here. I got a tiny little soldering tip and terrible eyes. There it goes. Now it went in there, but I don't want all this goop on the outside because that's going to screw up my heat shrink. Come on. So we want to get it off without making too much of a mess. Oh, come on. I got most of it off. Got that blop off. Got that off. Okay. There's the positive. Now we're going to do the negative. Stick down there. Okay. Oh, it's time for dinner for the dogs. I can hear them running. Okay, soldering tip is getting big blob of solder on it off camera, and here we go. Push it in. That one didn't slide in, so the insulation stayed there, and this one did that. What should I do about that? Gosh, that is a mess right there. Oh no, that's even more of a mess. I'm making it worse. Glad this one's mine and not Andy's or Kevin's. Come on, I should use some solder wick. Do I have solder wick? Yes, I do. Where is it? I don't know. It should be in here. In the solder drawer. Hold on. I'm not very good at using solder wick, and I don't seem to have any in here. Nope. Isn't that great? Where's the other solder drawer? Solder drawer, solder drawer. I can't find it. All right, we're just gonna have to see if we can get the heat shrink on. Okay, this is gonna go on real easy. See? This one, not so much, because I screwed up. Damn it. Okay, this is where we're gonna get creative, folks. Cut some of this blob off. And get the blob off the nylon too. Okay, now it should go on. There we go. That's how it's supposed to look. Then we use our heat gun off camera here, or over here, and just get the heat shrunk. Oh, and take the blue tack off too. There you go. Okay, so now the good news is we can power up this flight controller, because we have now a battery connection. And we're going to clean off the bottom a little bit here with our alcohol and toothbrush. Always making a mess. I'm going to turn off the soldering iron for a little bit. Oh, whoop, whoop. We're going to clean up the flight controller. And so now what I'd like to do is actually hook this up to the I don't have, well, I do have two. What am I saying? I don't have two of these to shoot at each other. I do, but I have to build another one. Hook this up to the other one. Oh, I didn't do the capacitor. Probably somebody was telling me. Capacitor? 640 acres of flying my place. Own run, have his own runway. Don't forget the heat shrink. Yup. Thanks for moderating there, Robert. Whatever that was, I missed it. Probably somebody telling me I was a moron. Deservedly so. Okay, we didn't do the capacitor once again. Ah, damn it. I keep forgetting to do that. Okay, we can do it though. We can put it on here. We want it on just like, let me put it in the board here for a second. That was a screw up. I think I should put it on top sometimes, but then, okay, it goes like that. Here, let's switch views. What time is it? 4:29. Well, I was going to get the firmware on all three flight controllers. That is what I said I would do. But I think what I should do is get it on one, get one completely set up so that I can easily figure out the other ones. Okay, so minus, it doesn't matter, I just hold it. How do I want it? So, oh my gosh. If it's on the bottom, not on the bottom, but like that, that should be all right. As long as I have it out. Okay, that's how it's going to go, just like that. Okay, so now we got to get this on here. Okay. We are going to stick this down like this. Let's stick this down first. Let's stick this down. And then cut some of this off. I never took a break, did I? Continuity test. Yes. Don't you worry, I will do all those things before I plug it in. First, let me get everything messed up as much as possible before I try to fix things. Get that stuck under there. So let's see, where am I going to cut these little things off? It's going to be like that. So we're going to cut this one off. I'm going to get them soldered on first and then cut them. I don't know. Yeah, let's get that one like that. Okay. Here we go. Soldering iron back on. We'll get the positive side first. If I can show you what I'm doing here. That's what we're going after. We're not going to make a work of art here, but we need to tape it over too. At least stick some tape. There, something. Okay. This is a little stupid that I forgot this. I always forget it, and it's never easy to put on anyway. But I usually put it on first and then put the wire on after. so we're going to just blast. Did you see that blob of solder fly out there? I think I got it. Nope. Yep. Okay, we got it on there. But there was a little blob of solder that flew out. And I had tape on everything except for the part that it flew over to. So we have to make sure that we didn't get anything. Okay, so now that we got that, we can take our cutters and cut this right there. Now we can get our negative, and we're just going to get it pushed over the top like that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's how we're going. That's how we're rolling here. I'm probably going to get my big fat head in the way again. And amazingly, I'm using the 3mm soldering tip. Okay. That's going to do it. I think it's good. I think we did it. That is how you retrofit a capacitor onto a flight controller without starting over again. We'll cut that off. There we go. Widen it out a little bit. There we go. So the reason we're putting the capacitor on, of course, is to clean up the power a little as best we can. With the capacitor anyway. Maybe not the be-all end-all. I'd solder them to the XT60 if little room. Yes, I know a lot of people do that, and I've never done it that way. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there is. That is a good way to do it if there's a little bit of room. I might have ended up doing that in my drift build. Okay, I didn't tin up the ESCs, but that's okay. I didn't tin up signal 1. Or the ground pin for the ESC, that's okay for now. Now we're going to put this back together. And we're going to do all the continuity testing and everything. But first I'm going to put a couple screws in to hold it together. Put the screw in there, in the hard spot. I like to make life difficult for myself. And put one more in opposite of that. Okay. Now we can put it back on our board. Let's see. Goes this way. And it goes on our board. And we will put the screws in the holes. Oh, we need an Allen hex key for that. There it goes. And before we get it too tight, let's put the other one on here. This will allow us to plan out our cabling with everything in place where it lives. Oh, except it's not going in. There we go. No, it's not going in. Okay. Gotta get it lined up. Come on. Nope. I'm somehow not getting it in. Why? Ow. This is sharp. Oh, there it goes. Nope. It's not catching. God damn it. Okay. Okay, I've got... Oh, I know what the problem is. It's the pins. Ah. Design fail. That's the problem. I'm going to need longer M2 screws and to set this up a little bit higher even. Look. The pins on the bottom. There should be a little cutout. Okay, it goes this way. I'm just going to cut it out with a razor blade. Okay, so the pins need to be cut out right there. This is what happens, folks, when you design your own crap. You make mistakes. But what we're going to do is see if we can just cut out a slot so that the pins can go through. This isn't even 2 millimeters thick. I should be able to cut through it. I'm getting there. Sorry, that means probably not going to make this live stream to get this hooked up. Because it's already 4:40. But I'm trying. I'll have to redesign this with a hole in it. Okay, am I getting through? Holy smokes. PLA, man, this shit's tough. Who says it's brittle and crappy? That one plane that I had on here earlier, I've crashed that crap out of that thing. Okay, got one. That stuff is tough to cut. Good on ya, PLA. Maybe if I got a sharper blade, but this is pretty new blade. Come on. Oh dear. There. We broke on through to the other side. Jim Morrison. Oh, come on. You can do it. There we go. I'm messing this whole thing up. It's supposed to be flat. It is, after all, holding the flight controller. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, this is definitely going to call for a redesign. And I'm definitely happy with my PLA plastic. I mean, this shit is tough. This is like a millimeter, 1.6 or 1.8. That's all I did. It's nothing. Almost got it. There we go. Cut a little square out of there. Let's see if the flight controller will go in now. That's what I'm trying to make a hole for. Did I get it on? Oh my God, did I miss a pin? Oh, I don't need those pins. I hope I don't need those pins, but if I do, okay, that should be fine. That should go on now. Okay, now it's not going on because of that. No, it's not even hitting that. But we're going to take some off of here too. There we go. Cut off that corner. Little improv of the plastic parts. Hot knife through butter. Yeah, hot knife. Hot knife. God, you're smart. That's thinking. Okay, is it going to go in now? Oh, yeah. Okay. Now let's see if these screws will hold this thing together. I mean, I do have to test all this design assembly. So here we go. We're testing the design and assembly. Considering that I designed it, it's a good chance it's screwed up. It still won't go on. Come on. There, I got it. Okay. There we go. Let's turn the soldering iron off. Is it still flat? Not exactly. But when we put it in the ship, it'll get smushed down onto there. Will it fit in there? And that's the next question. That's the next problem we have to solve. Did I make everything too close? No, we can straighten. Oh, look at that. Fits. Does it fit in? Yes. Fits in perfect. Oh. Am I breaking things? I hear plastic making noises. Okay, so this doesn't get screwed down, it gets glued down. So is that going to be a problem? That's what's making the noise. So it's hitting there. That's okay, as long as... Yeah, I'm just going to have to hold it good when I glue it down. I'm only going to glue it with hot glue anyway. So, okay, so there it is, sitting in its little house. So now, what time is it? 15 minutes to go. So now where are we going to put the rest of our things? We are going to have a GPS that is going to go on the wing. Don't need to worry about that. This HC12 should go on the wing. So we're going to have to wire the HC12 to the wing. Okay, so where's our little laser rangefinder? We need this. We need a soldering. Why are there two tips? Could use some also use some spacers. Yes, thank you. So, Mr. RC FPV Air Combat, there's not any particular reason. There's two sets of pin headers on the laser tag on the, I call it a laser tag, on the gun, right? High power gun, low power gun, but it doesn't matter which one you connect them to. The continuity's got to be the same. Okay, so let's check continuity. Let's check, make sure we're not breaking anything. Multimeter. That's what we'll do with our 15 minutes left. I'm going to do a stream later tonight if anybody's interested. I don't know what your time zone... Oh, I know where Robert's time zone is. Probably have a life, though. But I'm going to continue with part 2 later tonight, I think. We'll see how it goes. I may adjust, I can't adjust the design. What am I saying? I've printed these pods already. Okay, let's check our continuity between positive and negative. They are not continuous. Now let's do the ground. Ground shield. Ground is not shielded to the USB ground shield. That's interesting. But it should be to those ground pins. And those ground pins. And those ground pins. There's some ground pins over there. That whole row is ground. Okay. Except that one. Yep. That's ground there too. Yep. Okay, we're good there. I'm forgetting something important, and that is we need a power wire going from, we need a short power wire to go from here. We're going to have to solder on, yep. Oh, we can use the ESC wires. So we'll use from the ESC pads, we will power FPV Combat. So our ESC pads will go from here to here because it's just continuity between the ESC pad. If I go from positive to positive, it's just continuity there. And if I go negative to negative, there's continuity there. There should be anyway. Come on, touch the thing. Huh? Oh, this is coming unscrewed. That's why. There we go. Okay. There we go. We will power the FPV Combat over that. Time zone is 2348. It's 2348 here too. Central time zone. You're in the U.S. Central. No, 2348. Oh, you're in 2348. It's not 2348 here. What am I saying? It's 1448. You're going to bed soon. You're in the Europe, Central Europe? I'm guessing Central Europe. Okay. Okay, pins. How are we going to do this? Are we going to do pins for the VTX and this on the FPV Combat? Yes, we will do pins. So we do have to do some soldering. Aux. What's the aux? V1, V2. I don't know what the aux pins are for. I guess I should read the documentation. Okay, so we're definitely going to put pins in for the camera. We don't need the power pins, but we'll just plug everything in. So that's how many we need there. That. That will be for this. Then what do we need? So this must be the programming interface, I2C. Oh, I2C is the radio. Oh, the radio. Okay, the radio gets connected there. So we need and then that's I2C up here. The radio gets connected down here, and that's I2C up there. And the I2C is for, we don't know, but it's for something. Maybe some kind of other sensor or something. 10 minutes from Sunday, he sure is. Okay. No, we're going to use a 2-row header for this. Because I'm going to just plug in I'm going to solder in all the connections just in case. I need them for something someday. I learned my lesson with Kevin's plane. I didn't solder all the connections, and then I wanted to change it over to Free Sky. And come on, look at that. I learned how to break these things. Now we got to cut out one pin. Just one pin. I hope I did the right way. Oh, the wrong pin. You idiot. Let's get rid of the whole thing now. Now I messed up the whole thing. Okay, I'm messing things up, you guys. That's okay. And I'm not making sure things are on camera. We'll just put one pin in there by itself. Oh, we don't need the DTR pin. We'll never need the DTR pin. So we don't need to worry about that. Maybe it's for, I don't know, the serial connection for some radios, but not this particular one, possibly. That's how it'll go. What time is it? 4:54. So can we solder this? Probably. That's going to be the end, though. We're not going to get to hook this up. So I'm going to do another live stream. I'm just going to say we'll solder this up. Then it'll be ready for the next live stream. Because, did I put a nut on here? Only one nut. Let's just get that nut off. ME163 video. I got to check that out. Okay. Soldering iron back on. Solder here first. Stick this on like so. This board has been well thought out. I can tell you that. I mean, you can tell that there was a lot of work gone into it. I love projects like this. Unique, small scale. Which one? He's obviously got more than one ME163 video. Okay, let's move this off to the side there. Let's move these away, and we will begin our soldering. I didn't even change glasses for this. I wonder why they soldered some pin headers on and not others. If it were my preference, I would say don't solder any on so you can decide whether you want to use angled pin headers or not. That would be my preference. Include them in the box, but don't put them on. That would be what I would say. Okay, over here is going to be power connection, so we're not going to do any pin headers for that. So now we're going to just do this one. And are we going to do a single pin for DTR? Should we? I don't know. We will not put the single pin on the DTR, and we can always add it later. And maybe we'll zoom in a little for the last soldering of this live stream. How exciting. And this is, sorry we didn't get to the point where we actually hooked this up and see. But we've got to make some wiring harnesses. I've got lots of things to do. So that'll be for part 2. I feel like I don't have this one down all the way. But it's too late now, because it's on there. And I didn't tape it. Didn't cover it. I'll watch your ME163 videos. I have to say that the video on the website, the FPV Combat website, is so awesome. There's so many nice videos there for that opening landing page. Look at that tiny little 5-volt pin right there. Beep, 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 beep. Microscopic almost. Okay. Those are all the pins we're going to solder onto the FPV Combat. And that's going to bring us close to the end. Did I not have it down all the way? No, I did. It's a little crooked. Look at what I did. It's a little crooked. Now, widen it out. Yeah, that one is on a little, tilted a little bit. Shame on you, Selman. Okay. So, let's go back and put it back onto our thing. Oh, we're going to have the same problem. Oh, I have a spacer for that board. I thought of spacers for that board. Just not the other one. Okay, so this is going to go on this way. The orientation of the FPV Combat board does not matter. Just whatever fits in your plane. I'm assuming, I suppose you could use this for quads too, if you wanted. Wouldn't be as cool, but maybe it would be. Okay. I am sad that it is a little warped when I stick it in there. Okay, so wiring diagram. I've got 5 o'clock. I said I would go 10 minutes over. I'm going to go 10 minutes over just to... What is he saying there that he's doing, Mr. Docker? Is he being... No, you don't have to tell me. That's the whole point of deleting the message. But I appreciate it. I don't need any vulgarness or stupid things on here that we don't need. Okay, we need some... Now we're going to need some cables to connect things. And this came with cables. It does come with really plasticky, not my favorite quality cables here, but we're going to use them at least just to hook things up. So the gun. Oh dear. Not marked how it's not marked for signal and ground. How do we know? Put it A side up. A side up. Ground on the on that side. Same side as the A. Let's hope that's correct. And then the gun out. A P O. Guns on the end. Plus minus. Oh, there is no signal for the guns, just plus minus. Interesting. Okay. That's how you hook that up. That's going to go through here. Like so. Along the side into the gun port. There it is. That's how that's going to be wired. So that cable that came with the Combat kit is the perfect length. Okay, so this, we got some servos. Let's say one servo is going to go out to the in port, the PWM in port. And then the servo will be connected to the PWM out port. Then we're also going to connect a separate servo. We're going to use one of the other servo connectors for the pass-through trigger. So that one will be here. Whichever one that one will be, I'll look on the wire map. Actually, these are going to go through this little hole here. Sorry for getting my big, fat, bald head in the way all the time. Then this one is also going to go through the ESC area. That'll be the trigger. There it is. So then the next connection is going to be, this is all the connections I have that I don't have to make a harness for. The IR sensor, and that is designed to let a servo cable through that hole. And I'm going to grab it with a pair of pliers. Got it. The IR sensor goes ground there. Now I am thinking of desoldering these pins or cutting them off and doing a direct solder on this side, so we don't have this big thing sticking out. I think that's what we're going to do there. We're not going to do a pin connection here. This is going to be direct solder. Direct solder, excuse me. IR sensor, so that's going to go right there. So we will be making a wiring harness for this, because we're going to be cutting the connector off of these. And actually we can cut the connector off or even leave it on. This has 3 separate connections, and I'm sure they're all continuous. Let's see. Then I'm going to sign off. I keep saying that. Okay. 5 volt, 5 volt, 5 volt. Negative, negative, negative. Signal, signal, signal. So I can cut the, if it's the wrong one, just flip the cable. Oh, because it's an LED, it's not going to break it, right? Exactly. So this, I can cut the connectors off and direct solder to any of these other points of connection. Or I could just leave those connectors on. It won't be that big of a deal if there's not a big honking wire connected to it. And then the real wires can go, whoops, I just bent that. Don't do that. These things I think you can get online really cheaply, so if you break one, you can probably get more. In fact, I'm going to look on Banggood for them. Okay, so we didn't get everything connected, but this was part 1. We are really going to build these things. We're going to build 4 or 3 of these FPV Combat planes with the FT Arrow wide pod build that looks like this here. This is not the exact pod. This pod is a little bit different. It's I made it to fit 4S, even though we're still probably going to use 3S. This thing has been crashed many times, so don't take its beauty for... I'm going to try to do a nice pattern like this. This is the first wings I've cut and taped. So whichever color they want, like red or blue or something, that's what's going to go on theirs. Yeah. So that's it. We're going to do part 2 maybe later tonight. I'm going to try to plan for 8 or 9 o'clock. We'll see. I'll put up a schedule shortly. I'll schedule it. Thanks. Over and out. Sort of. Get my end clip going. End clip, end clip. Bye, you guys.